I was standing in the middle of a snowstorm, rocks all around me, and that song just cut right through the wind. I hadn't heard it in 20 years. Not since. Not since Elena used to sing it to Tommy at bedtime. And now here I was. No radio, no backup, and 3 kids buried under half a mountain. Captain said to wait. Protocol said to wait. But my gut said move. I never planned to be a cop. Wasn't some childhood dream or family tradition. My old man ran a gas station off Route 7 outside Baker City. I grew up sweeping floors, checking oil, handing wrenches to a man who believed in 2 things, hard work and silence. My name's Wesley Callahan. Folks call me Wes. Born and raised in Oregon. Eastern part, not the Portland side. It's a different world out here. Rugged, dry, stubborn land. Just like the people. I'm 53 now. Retired lieutenant from the Oregon State Police. 30 years in. Most of it out on the highways. Winter, summer, holidays, funerals. Doesn't matter. When a call comes, you go. I used to run patrol division out of Pendleton before I wrapped things up. Now, I live alone. Small place outside Baker. Not much around but pine, snow, and quiet. And quiet, that's a funny thing. You think it means peace. But sometimes, it just gives ghosts room to talk. I joined the OSP back in '92. Clinton was president. Gas was $1 and change. Back then, the academy was smaller, tighter. They still taught you how to talk to people, not just how to chase them. I wasn't top of my class, wasn't the fastest or the strongest. But I listened. Listened real damn good. Out there on the road, fear comes in all kinds of packaging. Wrecks, overdoses, runaways. Sometimes it's a crying kid. Sometimes it's a man with a gun behind his back. You learn quick, or you die slow. I wasn't a golden boy. Didn't rise fast. Didn't kiss ass. But I showed up. Every day, every storm, every damn mile between La Grande and Ontario. My file's full of reprimands and thank you letters, because I did things my way. And my way? It meant not waiting for perfect conditions. You don't wait on protocol when someone's bleeding. You don't ask permission when a child's trapped in a rolled-over minivan at 10 below. You move, but that mindset, it comes with a price. There's one case, back in '01, I can't shake. We got a call about a kidnapping. Woman named Janine Porter, schoolteacher. Guy forced her into her own sedan, took off down US 97. I found the car first, middle of nowhere, no backup. Captain said, wait. And for once in my life, I did. Waited 12 minutes. SWAT showed up. We went in. She was already gone. Shot through the back of the head. Guy killed himself right after. 12 minutes. I've lived with that number every day since. I was married once. Elena. Met her in '93 at a rest stop near Nampa, Idaho. She was working 2 jobs, raising her little sister, fixing her own car in the snow. I offered her a wrench. She offered me a life I never thought I deserved. She was Mexican, soft voice, strong will, and she loved to sing, especially to our boy Tommy. That song, Los Politos Dicen. I didn't understand the words at first, but it stuck. She sang it when he was sick, scared, or just tired, soft and slow, like a blanket. In '95, she was driving home from visiting her sister in Ontario. Some drunk ran a red light, hit her full speed. She died on scene. Tommy was 3. He doesn't remember her voice, but I do. I hear it every time I'm near snow, or silence. Tommy's grown now, lawyer in Salem. We talk, sometimes. Not much. He says I'm emotionally unavailable. Maybe he's right. I tried to raise him best I could. Worked days, nights, weekends. Taught him how to shoot, how to drive, how to keep his word. But I couldn't teach him how to miss someone. That part he had to figure out on his own. And somewhere along the line, we drifted. Now he sends me Christmas cards signed Tomas. I respect that. But it still stings. So yeah. Now I spend my days fixing old radios, reading Civil War books, walking through the woods with a thermos full of coffee and a Glock I haven't fired in 15 years. Neighbors keep their distance. Not 'cause I'm rude, just 'cause I don't smile easy anymore. But that doesn't mean I don't feel things. In fact, I think I feel too much. I just got good at tucking it deep. Until a certain night. January 17th, 2015. Dead man pass, 3 kids, a storm like I'd never seen, and a voice from the past, pulling me forward. You ever hear your dead wife's lullaby coming from under a pile of rocks? No? Well, that's a story worth telling. That winter, it wasn't just cold, it was angry. January 2015 hit Oregon like a clenched fist. And Dead Man Pass? That place always had a mean streak. Locals know the name, truckers dread it, and rookies, well, they learn fast why we call it that. It ain't the steep grade or the switchbacks that'll get you. It's the way the mountain changes. Calm 1 minute, white hell the next. Winds so sharp they peel paint off your cruiser. I've seen 18-wheelers flipped like toys up there. Chains snap. Road vanishes under black ice. You blink, and a family of 5 is gone beneath a guardrail. I'd driven that stretch hundreds of times. But that week, January 17th, it felt different. The snow didn't fall, it descended. Heavy, angry, like it wanted to bury something. Sky went gray and stayed that way. Visibility, maybe 10 feet on a good bend. They'd already shut down the pass that morning. DOT put up barricades on both ends. Big LED warnings, the whole thing. No one with sense had any business up there. Not with those conditions. But sense doesn't always ride shotgun. I remember sitting in the Pendleton substation sipping lukewarm coffee, staring at the Doppler on the wall. Red, orange, purple, colors you don't want to see unless it's fireworks. Captain Dobbs stood behind me, arms crossed, that permanent scowl on his face. Dobbs was a by-the-book type. Clipboard guy. Came from Medford, never really got the terrain out east. Said things like liability and chain of command more than, "Are you okay?" He said, "Wes, no one goes past the barricade. If something happens, we wait for search and rescue." I nodded. Didn't argue, didn't roll my eyes. But inside, I felt that old itch. That quiet little tap in the back of your skull that says, it won't wait. Whatever it is, it won't wait. See, when you do this job long enough, you get to know the storm. Not just the weather, but the feeling when something's off, when something's already happened. And that day, everything in my bones was yelling. Around noon, I stepped out back for a smoke. Hadn't lit one in years, but I kept the pack anyway. Just holding it calmed me. Wind was screaming, sky was thick. And then the radio buzzed. Not dispatch, not official. A trucker on the Citizen band. Woman's voice, crackly. She was heading westbound, said she saw a Suburban cut through the lower barricade near Meekum. Older model, Nevada plates, didn't slow down, just slipped right through like it was chasing something. She called it in, but didn't stop, said it gave her a bad feeling. That's all I needed. Bad feeling. I walked back in, told Dobbs. He frowned, tapped his pen and said, "Nothing we can do until they get stuck or show up on camera." He meant the plows would spot it. Eventually, but I couldn't shake it. Suburban, Nevada plates. Tourist, fugitive, family in trouble. Too many maybes. And the forecast said it'd get worse before it got better. I looked at my GPS. Blank. No signal. Radio was dying. That's when the past came up like a damn ghost. 12 minutes. Janine Porter. How many kids have 12 minutes? How long does it take for snow to suffocate a car? Or for panic to turn fatal? I stood by the cruiser, hand on the hood, snow stinging my cheeks. Could have walked back in. Could have sat and waited like the rulebook says. Instead, I got in, turned the key, and drove east. Didn't say a word, didn't ask for clearance, didn't leave a note. Dead Man Pass was calling, and I wasn't about to let another name join its ledger. Driving up that incline, you don't forget that kind of silence. Just the engine, the snow, the occasional groan of the wind pushing against metal. No other cars, no tire tracks. Just white. Pure, blinding white. My wipers worked overtime, fighting a losing battle. and somewhere around mile marker 228, I saw it. Flash of a headlight under a mound, half covered in snow, like the mountain tried to swallow it whole. Chevy Suburban, faded green, rear window shattered, front end buried under rock. No movement, no sound. I stopped the cruiser, stepped out. Cold punched me in the lungs. Boots sunk deep. Visibility, maybe 5 feet. And then, just as I got closer, I saw a figure slumped outside the driver's door. Male, mid-40s maybe, face bloody, frozen, no pulse. Didn't take long to see he was gone. That should have been the end of it. A report, a coroner call, a name on a clipboard. But then, I heard it, faint, muffled, from inside the Suburban. A child's voice, singing, soft, unsteady. Los pollitos dicen, pío, pío, pío. I froze. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe. That voice, that song. Elena, my wife. She used to sing it just like that. Same rhythm, same breathy softness, when she rocked Tommy to sleep. I hadn't heard it in 2 decades. And now, in the middle of a blizzard, on a cursed mountain, under a sky that looked ready to bury us all, I was hearing it again. Coming from under a pile of snow and stone. 3 kids, no backup, no comms, no time. And nothing in the manual prepared me for what came next. There's calls you answer, and calls you feel. This one wasn't dispatched, wasn't logged, didn't come with sirens or coordinates. It came through the static. Faint. Broken. Just a trucker's voice on the old CB cutting through the storm. Female. Mid-40s maybe. You could hear the fear underneath the calm. She said she was westbound on I-84, about a mile past the lower barricade near Meekum. Said she spotted a green Suburban blow through the flashing signs like they weren't even there. She slowed down, rolled her window down just a crack, saw Nevada plates. Said the thing was fishtailing, tires bald. She said, didn't look like someone running, looked like someone lost. That stuck with me. Someone lost. Then she went quiet. Said the wind was getting worse, told me she was switching off to conserve battery. And that was it. No name, no plate, no direction. Just a whisper on a dying channel and a knot in my gut that tightened fast. I walked back into the substation. Dobbs was by the coffee machine, still tapping on that damn clipboard. I told him what I heard. I didn't dramatize it, just gave him the facts. He didn't even look up, just muttered, "If they're dumb enough to cross the barricade, they'll get themselves stuck. We'll wait for a plow to spot 'em." Then he added, "We're not sending people out blind, Wes. Not again." Not again. I knew what he meant. He was talking about 2001. Everybody knew. It wasn't written in the files, but it lived in the halls. The story of how Callahan waited too long. 12 minutes. That number again. Like it was tattooed behind my eyes. I stood there, listening to the coffee drip. I remember how loud it was. Stupid little sounds get huge when the blood starts rushing in your ears. I nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't push. But something inside me broke loose. Quietly. I stepped outside, pulled the cruiser door open, and just sat. Let the heater run, let the storm blur the windshield. I looked at the GPS. Dead screen. No signal. Radio. Cracking and hissing. I tried 3 channels. Nothing but white noise. I turned it off, closed my eyes, and she came back. Elena. I could see her in the old kitchen on Pine Street, holding Tommy in her arms, swaying slow, singing that song in Spanish with her eyes half closed. Los pollitos dicen. Her voice wasn't loud, never was. It was the kind of soft that made you lean in, made you want to stay. That night came rushing back too. The phone call, the officer at the door, the crash site photos I couldn't unsee. The guilt of letting her drive alone. The guilt of not being there. It's a cold that doesn't leave, no matter how many layers you wear. And now, some kid was out there, in that same kind of dark. I looked back toward the station. Dobbs was probably running a checklist waiting on updates from ODOT. I knew if I went back in and pushed harder, he'd shut me down. I'd get a write-up, maybe worse. But if I went now, if I just left, no one could stop me. Worst case, I get yelled at. Best case, I save somebody. I don't wait. I don't lose another Janine. Don't bury another child. Don't wake up at 2 in the morning wondering what if. So I put the cruiser in gear, didn't key the mic, didn't text dispatch, just drove. Didn't even know where I was going at first. Just followed the slope, followed instinct. I turned off the main artery and took the old service route, the one they stopped maintaining back in 2010. That road had no business being used that day. Covered in drift, cracked in places, barely wide enough for one vehicle. But it hugged the pass, ran parallel to the higher bend. And I remembered, from back in '07, there was a pullout near mile 228 where cars sometimes tried to turn around. If that Suburban got scared and tried to double back, that's where they'd go. My fingers gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Couldn't feel my toes anymore. The whole world had gone white and quiet. And the thing is, when you're out there like that, alone, the road stops feeling like a road. It's just a strip of memory, a path held together by what you hope is underneath. I passed a broken reflector, then a fallen tree half buried in snow. Then, nothing. And then, a blink later, headlight glass, faint, buried, green Suburban, rear end sticking out at an angle, like it slid sideways and the mountain didn't let it go. I slammed the brakes, almost slid into a ditch, threw the door open. Wind hit me like a slap. Cold sliced through my uniform, and there it was. One body outside, still. Blood frozen on his face. Then, that sound, so faint I thought I imagined it. Los Politos dicen. A child, inside, singing. I dropped to my knees beside the passenger door, tried the handle, jammed. Glass fogged from the inside. 3 little faces, pressed against the glass, eyes wide, lips blue. One was mouthing the song, still singing. I felt everything inside me crack open, the years, the waiting, the loss. I pressed my forehead to the door and said, "Hang on, babies, I'm here now." And for the first time in a long, long time, I knew exactly what I had to do. You don't forget the sound a mountain makes when it's angry. It don't roar, it don't scream, it groans. Deep and low, like it's waking up under your feet. That's what I heard the second I stepped out of the cruiser. Dead Man Pass. January 17th. The kind of cold that don't just sting, it punishes. Wind coming in sideways. Visibility down to maybe 3 car lengths. I was officially off route. No radio, no GPS, no permission. Just me, God, and a whole lot of white. And I didn't give a damn. The barricade was a twisted line of cones and flashing signs half buried in drift. I drove past it like it was a bad memory. The road itself, gone. Covered in snow and slush and the broken bones of the hillside. Tire tracks had vanished. It was like I was driving into a dream. A bad one. You gotta understand, when you're a road cop, your whole life runs on traction. Not just tires. Trust, orders, protocol, chain of command. It's all meant to keep you grounded. But that day, I broke every rule we'd ever been taught. And I didn't hesitate. Not once. Not when I slid around that first bend. Not when the cruiser bottomed out and drift up to the bumper. Not even when I saw the sign that said road closed. No services beyond this point. Because I knew, in my gut, in that place where fear meets memory, something was alive out there. Something small, something holding on. And I wasn't about to let it go. I kept crawling up the ridge, 10 miles an hour. Sometimes less. One hand on the wheel, one on the heater dial, trying to keep the windows clear. Didn't see another soul. No headlights, no taillights, no plows. Just trees bending under the weight of snow. And silence. Except, not really silence. There was this pressure. like the storm was holding its breath, waiting. I came around a bend near mile marker 228, just past an old pullout that hadn't been used in years, and that's when I saw it, or part of it. The back of a Chevy Suburban, caked in snow, tilted, like something had shoved it off the road and into the hillside. My heart jumped into my throat. I slammed the brakes, nearly fishtailed into the ditch, got out before the wheels stopped turning. Wind hit me so hard it knocked the door back into my shoulder. And then I saw him, the man, driver's side, Oscar Reyes. I didn't know his name yet. Didn't need to. I could tell he was gone from 10 feet away. Head split open, leg bent wrong, skin gray. I checked anyway. Instinct. No pulse, no breath, no nothing. Just another man trying to outrun a mountain and losing. I looked at the windshield, spider-webbed, but intact. Passenger side buried in drift and rock. Front grille smashed in, like the car took a blow straight to the mouth, and then I heard it, soft, muffled. A child's voice, singing. Los Politos Dicen. I froze. That sound. It didn't belong in that storm. Didn't belong in death. It belonged to warm kitchens, cribs, safe nights. It belonged to her. Elena. I dropped to my knees, pressed my ear to the glass. There were 3 of them, little ones, faces barely visible through the fogged-up windows, eyes wide, hands red from the cold. One boy, singing under his breath. His lips were shaking, but he kept going, like it was the only thing holding him together. And I realized something. He wasn't just singing. He was calling, not for help, not for his uncle, for his mother, for comfort, for whatever voice he remembered that once told him the world was safe. And in that moment, I wasn't a cop, wasn't a man with a badge. I was a father, a husband, a man who had heard that song before in a room filled with light before the light went out. I stood up, tried the door, jammed, kicked it, nothing. Pried at the handle with my knife, wouldn't budge. I circled to the back. The rear hatch was crushed, glass shattered. I reached in, clearing out snow and debris with my bare hands. Heard a whimper, a cough. Mateo, the oldest, 11 years old, huddled with his sister Lucia and the little one Gabriel. They were holding each other like their lives depended on it, because they did. I crawled halfway in, coaxing them one at a time, using my jacket to wrap around their legs, arms, heads. My hands were numb, my teeth were chattering, but I didn't stop. Not once. Mateo tried to talk, but his lips were split. Lucia wouldn't open her eyes. And Gabriel, he just kept singing. "I got you," I told him. "I got you, mijo. You're gonna be okay." And for the first time in 20 years, I believed it. I've seen death 100 times, different shapes, different temperatures, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. But that man, lying half frozen outside the Suburban, he hit me different. Oscar Reyes. Didn't know his name back then, but I knew he died trying to protect them. His body was half buried in snow and rock, slumped near the driver's side, one arm outstretched toward the rear passenger door, like maybe he'd tried to reach them, even after the car went quiet. His face was torn up, blunt trauma, cracked skull, busted lip, frozen blood crusted around his nose. Eyes open. That always hits me the worst, when the eyes stay open, because they see you, even in death. And I saw him, didn't flinch, didn't gag. I knelt, checked the neck, the wrist, just to say I did. I already knew. Body was stiff, been dead a while. Wind was howling now, louder than before, like the mountain was reminding me where I was, where he was. I leaned down and said, "I'm sorry, brother. I'll get them out. You did your part." That wasn't for him. That was for me. Because if I didn't say it, it'd stay inside, like all the others. I moved around to the back. Suburban's rear door was a mess. Bent metal, broken glass, snow packed in like cement. Used my baton to wedge open what I could. Started clearing with my gloves, fingers already numb, joints stiff. Then I heard it again, not loud, but there, that little voice. Los Politos dicen. Slower now, fainter. Like the kid was running out of air, or courage. It hit me like a gut punch. Because it wasn't just a song. It was a tether. To his mother. To his memory. To life. That's what singing is sometimes. A way to stay alive until someone answers. I crawled in, face scraping against the roof, flashlight clenched between my teeth. And there they were. 3 kids. Mateo, 11. Lucia, 8. Gabriel, 5. Huddled in the back like pups in a snow den. Their coats were thin, no gloves, no blankets. They were covered in dust, shards of glass, bits of rock. Gabriel had blood on his cheek. Lucia was shaking. Mateo looked up at me, eyes red and wild, lips cracked. He didn't scream, didn't move, just stared. I said, "I'm Officer Callahan. I'm here to help." He nodded once, slow, like it took everything in him. Then he whispered, "Tio Oscar?" I swallowed hard. Could have lied. Could have said he was okay, just resting. But I'd done that once before, to a kid in a rollover on US 20. Told her mom was fine. She found out at the hospital that she wasn't. She never looked at me again. So I said, "He's not hurting anymore." Mateo dropped his head, didn't cry, didn't speak, just reached for his brother's hand. I started working fast. 1 kid at a time. Lucia was barely responsive. Cold shock, pupils sluggish. I wrapped her in my outer coat, cranked the cruiser heater, carried her first. 1 arm under the legs, the other under the shoulders. She weighed almost nothing. Didn't make a sound, didn't blink. I laid her gently in the backseat of my cruiser, blasting the heat. Then I went back for Gabriel. He looked up at me and said, "You came." Just that. No panic, no screaming. Like he'd been expecting me. Like the song had worked. "I came," I said. "You did good. You're brave." He nodded, still singing under his breath. Barely audible. Carried him second. Felt like glass under my hands. Brittle. But he never let go of my collar. Like if he did, I'd disappear. Backseat again. Tucked him beside Lucia. Wrapped him in whatever I had left. Then came Mateo. He tried to climb out himself. Couldn't. Leg was wedged under the seat. Took me a solid 2 minutes to free him. By then, my fingers were bleeding through the gloves. Didn't care. He was shaking bad. But when I lifted him, he said, "Don't leave him out there." Meaning Oscar. I said, "I won't." He rested his head against my chest and closed his eyes. Didn't open them again till we were halfway down the hill. I got all 3 in the cruiser. Engine running, heat blasting, radio still dead. I turned to face the road, snow falling harder, visibility gone, still no backup. But I knew one thing. They were alive. And now it was on me to keep them that way. I looked in the rear view. 3 kids, blankets, coats, heat, safe. And I thought about Elena, about Tommy, about how a song in a blizzard brought me to a moment that felt like healing, even if just for a second. I've done rescues before, wrecks, collisions, pulled people out of burning metal, cradled dying kids in ditches, helped a woman give birth in the backseat of a Civic during a snowstorm in '98. But nothing ever felt like that moment. 3 kids, freezing, scared, alone, and me. No radio, no backup, no time. The storm was getting worse. Snow falling heavier by the second, winds kicking up sideways, screaming through the trees. I could feel the weight of it all, not just the weather, but the silence of command. Dobbs wasn't coming. No one was. It was me and them. That's it. I cranked the cruiser's heat full blast, turned the vents toward the back seat. Then I climbed in beside them. Gabriel was shivering so hard his teeth clacked. I took off my undershirt and wrapped it around his chest. Held him close. Lucia was quiet, too quiet. Her eyes open but distant. Shock, I knew. Seen it too many times. I gently tapped her cheek, whispered her name, told her she was safe. Her lips moved, barely, but she blinked. That was enough. Mateo, that boy was holding it all together. For his siblings, for himself. He sat in the middle, arms around both of them, like a bridge between the broken. He looked at me and said, "My uncle said we'd be okay." I nodded. "You are." He was right. I didn't add that Oscar was dead. Not again. I looked around the cruiser. We had maybe an hour before the engine started choking on the cold. Maybe less. I had to move. There was a ranger outpost about 5 miles downhill. Old structure, barely used anymore. But it had a wood stove, emergency radio, sometimes stocked with blankets. It was our best shot. Problem was, no chains, no plow, and the road was disappearing. I got out, popped the trunk, started shoveling snow off the tires with my arms. My gloves were soaked, fingers raw. Didn't care. I cleared enough for traction, prayed under my breath. "Come on, girl, just this once." Got back in, shifted into drive, pressed the gas slow. The cruiser groaned. Tires spun. I rocked it gently, forward, back, then forward again. It caught. We moved, inch by inch. Every curve was a gamble. Every dip could have been a death trap. But I kept going, eyes locked, hands steady, and in the back seat, Gabriel started humming again. Not loud, not cheerful, but steady. It calmed me more than the heater ever could. We crawled down that mountain like ghosts through a tunnel. Me talking to the cruiser, to God, to Elena. I'm doing it. I'm not messing this one up. I don't know how long it took. Time got fuzzy. Felt like hours. But eventually, through the flurry, I saw it. A dark shape in the snow, square, the ranger shack. I pulled up close, killed the engine, jumped out, ran to the door, busted it open. Cold, dusty, empty. But the stove was there, and so was wood, and a damn miracle. Matches. I worked fast, lit the fire, got it going hot. Then ran back to the cruiser, carried them one by one. First Lucia, then Gabriel, then Mateo. Set them down on the floor near the stove, wrapped them in old blankets, my jacket, my shirt, anything. The warmth started to do its work. Color came back. Shivers slowed. Lucia spoke first. Soft. "Where's my uncle?" I sat down beside her, took her hand. "He got you here. He did everything right." She nodded. Didn't cry, just held Gabriel tighter. Mateo sat with his back to the wall, watching me. Not with fear, with understanding. He wasn't just a kid anymore. Not after that. He knew how close they'd come, and he'd remember it. Forever. Just like me. I stayed with them for hours. Fed them granola bars I found in a cabinet. Gave them water from a tank. Sang with Gabriel when he asked. Yes, I sang. Me. A man who hadn't sung since the day we buried Elena. Los Politos dicen. I didn't remember all the words. Didn't need to. He smiled, just a little. But it was enough to crack me wide open inside. Around dusk I heard engines. Search and rescue finally found us. They rushed in, took vitals, radioed command. One of them asked, "How the hell did you find them?" I didn't answer right away, just looked at the kids, at the stove, at my own hands, bloody, blistered, burnt. Then I said, I listened. And that was the truth. To a voice on the wind, to a song in the dark, to a memory that never left. I listened, and I moved. And for once, I didn't wait. The sun was dying behind the hills by the time they showed up. Not that you could see it. Clouds still thick, sky still bruised. But I felt it. That shift in the light. That quiet that creeps in when the worst is over. I was sitting on the floor of the ranger shack, back against the wall, boots off, steam rising from my socks. Lucia was asleep on a pile of folded towels. Gabriel curled up in my jacket, head on my thigh. Mateo just stared at the fire like it held all the answers in the world. And me? I felt hollow, like I'd poured everything I had into the floorboards. No adrenaline, no rush, just stillness. Then I heard it. Tires, voices, boots crunching snow, radios crackling. Search and rescue had found us. The door opened fast, flashlight beams slicing through the smoke. First guy in was young, beard, orange parka. Second one I recognized, Phillips, from the Baker team. They stopped cold when they saw us. 3 kids alive, no injuries worth crying about. Heat, blankets, me, looking like I'd been dragged through hell backward. Phillips blinked, then he radioed. 3 survivors, all stable. Officer Callahan present. Repeat, Officer Callahan present. The way he said it, like he didn't expect it, like maybe he'd heard a different story. They moved fast after that. Vitals, flashlights in the eyes, blankets over blankets, whispers in Spanish, calm and slow. One of them, a medic named Laura, I think, knelt beside Gabriel and said, "¿Cómo te llamas, mi amor?" He whispered, "Gabriel," then added, "El Señor me salvó." She looked at me. I looked away. Didn't want to cry in front of strangers. Didn't want to feel that much, but it was rising in my throat. Captain Dobbs showed up 20 minutes later. Black Tahoe. Lights off. He walked in with that stiff back, that clipboard under his arm like always. Surveyed the room like he was still in charge of something. He didn't say a word at first, just stood there taking it all in. 3 kids wrapped in survival foil, wood stove burning hot, me sitting on the floor like some mountain lunatic. Then he said, "Callahan, step outside." His voice didn't change, same tone he used for inventory reports. I stood up slow, nodded to Mateo. He nodded back. Outside was colder now. The storm had moved east. Stars peeked through in patches. Dobbs lit a cigarette. Didn't offer me one. I didn't ask. He stared out into the trees, then said, "You broke direct orders." I didn't answer, didn't blink. He turned to face me. "That could have gone bad. You had no comms, no GPS, no backup. You risked 4 lives, including your own, against protocol." I let the silence settle, let the frost bite my lips. Then I said, "Would you rather I followed protocol and bagged 3 bodies?" He didn't respond. Didn't have to. He knew. Every cop has one moment in their life where the book doesn't apply, where you have to break something sacred just to keep something else breathing. This was mine. And deep down, he knew it. He just didn't want to say it out loud. Because saying it out loud meant admitting that sometimes the rules don't save people. People do. We rode down the mountain in silence. 2 SUVs in front, 1 behind, me in the back with the kids. Mateo held Lucia's hand the whole way. Gabriel leaned against me again. Didn't sing this time, just breathed. I watched the road, the turns, the places we could have slid, could have rolled. Every inch of that mountain had tried to take them. But somehow they were still here. We got to the Pendleton Hospital just past midnight. They rushed them in. Fluids, warm blankets, IVs. I stayed out in the hallway, sat on a plastic bench, still in my thermal socks, hands trembling in the heat. Dobbs walked by once, didn't say a word, just kept going. Fine by me. Couple hours later, a nurse came out. Said the kids were stable, that social services had been contacted, family in Nevada had been notified. She said, "They kept asking for you." I stood, legs like rubber, heart pounding. She led me to the doorway. Mateo was sitting up, juice box in hand. Lucia slept beside him. Gabriel waved when he saw me. "Senor Callahan." Mateo whispered something to the nurse. She nodded, stepped aside. He looked at me and said, "Can you stay a little?" I stepped in, pulled up a chair, and I stayed. Until sunrise, until they slept again, until the room filled with family voices and soft cries. Then I slipped out. Didn't sign anything, didn't ask for thanks, just walked down the hallway, out the side door, into the cold, back into myself. You don't just walk away from something like that. Not really. You go home, sure. You turn in your report. You hand over the jacket, sign the forms, nod at the brass. But some part of you stays. Part of me's still up on that mountain, still digging through snow, still hearing that little voice, still tasting the blood in the back of my throat from breathing too hard, too cold, too scared. The papers didn't run the story. Not really. Small piece in the East Oregonian. Couple paragraphs buried between an elk sighting and a school board meeting. Local officer aids in recovery of children after weather-related incident on I-84. No names, no photos, no credit, just another incident. That's how it goes. The quiet ones don't sell papers. I didn't get a medal, didn't want one. Dobbs didn't reprimand me, didn't praise me either. He just filed it away. Couple weeks later, he retired. Moved to Arizona, I heard. Never saw him again. The kids? They went back to Nevada. Family stepped in, an aunt and a cousin. Good folks by the sound of it. I got a letter once, handwritten, said thank you in shaky English, signed by all three. Mateo added something at the bottom. It still snows in my dreams sometimes, but I'm not scared anymore. I keep that letter in my drawer, not for pride, for proof. Proof that something I did mattered, even if it didn't change the world. Even if it didn't fix me. Because that's the thing no one tells you. You can save lives. Drag kids out of death's mouth. But it doesn't always heal you. Doesn't erase the things you lost along the way. I still think about Janine Porter. Still hear her name in the quiet. Still wonder what would have happened if I'd moved quicker. And I think about Elena, all the damn time. There's moments, like when I'm at the grocery store and hear Spanish from 2 aisles over, and my knees go soft. Or when I catch a whiff of lavender and my chest tightens. That mountain didn't give me closure. It gave me clarity. There's a difference. Closure's for stories that end. Clarity's for the ones that live on. With teeth. I never talked much about that day. Not to friends, not to other cops, not even to Tommy. We don't talk much anyway. Last I heard, he made partner at his law firm. Lives in Salem, drives a hybrid, plays squash. He sent me a photo once, him with some colleagues holding a plaque. He looked tired, polished. Nothing like the boy who used to sleep on my chest while his mother sang to him. I don't blame him for the distance. I just wish, I don't know, that he knew I tried, that I never stopped carrying him. Same way I carried those kids. Same way I still carry that night. You ever hold something so fragile? You're afraid your hands might crush it just by caring too much? That's what they felt like in my arms. Lucia, Gabriel, Mateo. Little souls with frost on their lashes and fire in their bones. They didn't cry the way you'd expect, didn't wail or scream. They just held on, quiet, heavy, like they'd already seen too much. And me. I didn't know how to carry that weight. Still don't. But I do carry it. Every day. I wake up early now. Too early. Still waiting for dispatch to crackle through the radio I don't own anymore. Still expecting a call. A crisis. A voice saying, "Callahan, we need you." But the line's quiet. Because I'm done. Retired. Just another old wolf in a town that's forgotten my badge. Some nights I drive out past Pendleton. Park near the overlook where you can see the pass winding down like a ribbon through the pines. I sip my coffee, roll down the window, let the cold in, and I listen. For the wind. For the ghosts. For the faint memory of a lullaby. I don't know why I do it. Maybe I'm hoping to feel useful again. Maybe I'm just trying to remember what it felt like. To be exactly where I needed to be at the exact moment someone needed saving. That's rare. And I had it. Once. And it stayed. Not just in memory, but in my bones, in my silence, in the parts of me no badge could ever reach. I don't talk to many people these days. Not really. I nod at the girl at the post office. Tip my cap at the guy who plows my driveway. Wave at the neighbor's dog. But real talking? Nah. That left with the uniform. And maybe that's fine. Maybe some men are meant to carry their stories quiet, like a pack on your back. When you don't set down, just shift from shoulder to shoulder when it starts to bite. But there are nights when it builds up, gets heavy, when it presses behind the ribs like something's knocking from the inside. That's when I sit out back, coffee going cold in my hand, eyes on the pines, and I talk to her, to Elena. Don't matter that she's been gone almost 30 years. I still talk like she's standing behind the screen door, smiling soft, brushing her hair back with the back of her wrist. I tell her about the weather, about the elk tracks near the fence line, about the new deputy who can't park straight. And sometimes, I tell her about the kids. Not our kid, not Tommy, not always, but the Reyes kids. The ones I pulled out of the snow, and that night, that voice, that song. Los Politos Dicen. She used to hum it while folding laundry, or stirring beans, or rocking Tommy in her arms after he had a bad dream. I never learned the words, still don't know more than a line or two, but I know the feeling. It's a song about little ones needing warmth, needing their mother, needing comfort in a world too big, too cold, too full of sharp edges. And it took me 30 years to realize I've been one of those little chicks all along, trying to be brave, trying to stand guard, trying to stay warm on my own. But damn if it doesn't wear you down. You know, people think saving someone is about strength, lifting, carrying, breaking doors down. Sometimes it is, but more often, it's about staying, about standing still with someone who's scared out of their mind, about not flinching when their pain leaks into your skin. That night, in the ranger shack, I wasn't a hero. I wasn't a lieutenant. I was just a man holding 3 kids who'd lost everything. And somehow, holding them, put something back in me. I didn't expect that. Didn't even want it. But when Gabriel curled into my side and whispered, I knew someone would come. Something cracked. Something old. Something I'd buried. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was love. Maybe those are the same thing when you've lost enough. I think about Tommy more now. Not with anger, just distance. He's a good man, I think. Didn't end up in jail. Didn't fall into a bottle. But we don't know each other. Not really. I raised him with rules, not stories. With structure, not softness. Thought I was doing right. Giving him safety. Giving him armor. But I forgot to show him where I kept my own wounds. Forgot to tell him it's okay to need. I see now what I couldn't then. He didn't need me to be unbreakable. He needed me to be there. Like I was for those kids. Like Oscar Reyes tried to be. Like Elena always was. I think that's the part that hurts most. Knowing I got it right, once, but too late for the people who needed it most. You don't get do-overs in this life. Just echoes. And if you're lucky, you get a second chance to listen. That night on the mountain, I listened. To a song, to a memory, to the part of me that still believed in doing something, even when the book said stand down. And that voice, that faint, brave little voice, brought me back. Not just to those kids, but to myself. So yeah, I sit out here most nights, coffee cold, stars out, dogs barking somewhere down the ridge, and I think about what I lost, what I found, and what it all meant. People don't talk much about meaning anymore. Everything's fast, loud, disposable. But that night had meaning. That song had meaning. And every time I hear it, in my head on the wind from a passing car window, I close my eyes, and I see her, Elena, and I see Gabriel, Lucia, Mateo, and for just a second, I feel warm again. You spend enough years in this uniform, you start to think you've seen it all. You tell yourself you're numb to the blood, the sirens, the screams, the smell of burnt rubber and gasoline. You pretend your hands don't shake anymore, that you sleep just fine. But that's a lie. We all carry things. Every one of us. And the worst part ain't the nightmares. It's the quiet. It's the mornings when everything's normal. Coffee, radio, routine. And something inside you still aches like a bruise you can't locate. I've buried partners, held dying strangers, knocked on doors I wish I hadn't, told mothers their sons weren't coming home. But that night, January 17th, dead man pass. That night stitched something shut in me, and at the same time, it tore something wide open. I didn't save those kids because I was brave. I saved them because I had to. Because I knew what it felt like to wait for help that never came. Because I'd already stood too still once in my life, and someone paid the price for it. I wasn't going to let that happen again. Sometimes when I talk to the camera like this, I wonder who I'm talking to. Other cops? Veterans like me? Someone sitting on their porch in Alabama or Arizona with a cup of something hot thinking about their own ghosts? Maybe you lost someone. Maybe you let time slip too far between you and someone you love. Maybe you're just tired. If that's you, I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me a long time ago. Don't wait. Don't wait to say what you need to say. Don't wait to go where you feel pulled. Don't wait for the rules to catch up with your gut. Because the world moves fast. And sometimes it forgets the people who pause too long. I waited 12 minutes once. And I've lived every day since with that silence. But I didn't wait on that mountain. And I carry that silence too, a better kind. One filled with warmth, with 3 little breaths in the back seat, with the sound of a lullaby in a snowstorm. If you're still listening, I want to ask you something. Think about the voices you've ignored, the signs you brushed off, the instincts you drowned out in the name of order, pride, or fear, and ask yourself, what would have happened if you had listened? Because sometimes the quiet voice in your chest is louder than the world screaming protocol. I'm not saying throw away the rules, we need them, but don't ever let them replace your humanity. I almost did, and if I had, there'd be 3 more headstones in the snow. You want to know what real courage looks like? It's not medals, not TV interviews, not standing tall. It's shaking hands that don't stop working. It's walking into the dark with no flashlight, just a hunch and a heart that won't shut up. It's telling a scared little boy, I came, and meaning it with every broken part of you. I think about Oscar Reyes more than I expected. Man died trying to shield his niece and nephews. Tried to drive through a blizzard for reasons I'll never know. He wasn't a citizen, didn't have papers, but he had something more important. He had blood, he had courage, he had family, and in the end, he trusted that someone, anyone, would come. I'm glad I was that someone. And I hope, wherever he is, he knows I did right by them. I carried them the rest of the way, like I wish someone had done for Elena. Like I wish I'd done better with Tommy. Maybe that's the hardest part of getting older. Realizing the moments that really shaped you weren't loud, weren't planned, weren't neat. They were messy, painful, quiet, a snowstorm, a dead radio, a song. That's all it took. That's all it ever takes. If this story meant anything to you, if something in it felt familiar, I hope you tell yours, because there's someone out there who needs to hear it. Maybe it's your kid. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's just you. Say it out loud. Even if your voice shakes, especially then. And if you've ever made a choice that still haunts you, if you've ever carried the weight of being too late, just know, you're not alone. Some of us still drive those roads at night. Still waiting to hear something in the wind. Still hoping for one more chance to do the right thing before it's too late. That's all I've got. Thanks for listening. And if you've got a story like mine, leave it in the comments. Might be someone out there who needs to hear your voice tonight.